Hi, it's Kate here, who runs the Friday MumSpace group. I'm part of the pack team, and I really hope this week you've been enjoying the different videos that we've had. We're trying to hopefully give you some activities, some ideas, and today I'm going to be thinking a little bit about stress for us as parents during this time when we're stuck in with our children. So I'm going to start by sharing something that I learnt a few months ago on a course around adult mental health, and it's called Destress container. And I'm just going to draw it for you here on my piece of paper. So we imagine that each of us has a stress container, and this container can hold a certain amount of stress. Stress comes into our container in our everyday life. And if our container becomes full to the top with all the stresses coming in, eventually it can overflow. And when this overflows, on the course they called it emotional snapping, but I would call it when we just feel completely overwhelmed and we can overflow. The good news is that also in our container we have a tap at the bottom. And this tap at the bottom can release some of the stress with healthy strategies that can help us reduce our stress. So when our container gets filled up with stress, we can release the tap and this stress will come out and our stress levels will go back down. All of us have a container that is a different size. Some of us can cope with a lot of stress and some of us have a much smaller container due to life experiences that have happened to us as we've grown up. But what has this got to do with us? Well, I feel in the moment that these containers that contain stress, that in a way the crisis we're in with the coronavirus has squeezed our containers and maybe they're even smaller than they normally are. And I also feel like there's extra stresses, extra pressures coming into our stress containers that mean that they're overflowing quicker. I'll give you an example from me. Last weekend, I really felt, if we look again at my diagram, that my stress levels were getting higher and higher and higher. I felt like I wasn't a good enough parent. I'd been shouting more than I wanted to be. I felt like I was worried about someone I knew who was struggling in the virus. I hadn't had enough sleep, so I was tired. And also, the children were not listening to me at times, and I really was finding that stressful. And there was a point in the day last weekend where I really felt like my stress level had got to the point where it overflowed. I was irrational, I was upset, and at one point I just sat in front of my whole family and I cried. And that was the point when I realised that my stress level had overflowed and had become unhealthy. So I did some things that we're going to think about now, but I thought, what do I need to do to reduce my stress level? So for me, that day I went out and got some fresh air with one of my children. I actually went and helped someone who was struggling to have enough food. We cooked a meal in the evening together, just pizza. It was really simple and easy. And I also spoke to some friends on the phone. And all of those things helped my stress level to come back down. So, what are some things that we need to be thinking about as parents at the moment? Thinking about, first of all, what can you change and what can't you change? So, with our stress levels, there are some things in this situation that we cannot change at all. Coronavirus is out there. It's out of our control. We have to stay at home with our children and we've been told to do that. And there's nothing we can do about that. However, what we can do, what we can control, is accepting our own situation. Accepting that, like I shared last week, there's no such thing as a perfect parent. And that looking after ourselves so we can look after our children is really, really important. We can also accept at the moment that as parents who are struggling at home with maybe babies and young children and primary school children as well, we are not alone. There's a community around in the PACT community and others who understand a little bit of what you're going through. You aren't alone. Also thinking about your stress container for yourself, What needs your urgent attention? And can anyone help you? If your stress level's getting to the point where it's getting to the top of your container, what can you do quickly and urgently to reduce your stress? For me, it was going out and getting some fresh air. That instantly brought it back down. You can't completely remove stress from your life, I feel, at the moment in the coronavirus situation, but you can reduce it. Who can help you? Who can you call on? Who can you connect with and share with? That was one of the first things I did as well, was told my family how I was feeling, and that really, really helped. One last thing to think about, if we just go back to the stress container, is that we can have helpful strategies that help us release the stress in our container. But also, sometimes this tap can become blocked if we try and keep putting unhealthy strategies in. You know what they are for you. I wonder if you can identify what unhealthy coping strategies are for you and look at, can you manage them? Can you reduce them? Can you learn a new skill in this time to cope with your stress? So, what can we do to reduce stress for ourselves, help our mental health and our well-being? I'm just going to give you a few top tips that are also on the webpage. I've got them written down so that I can remember them. Number 1, accept it's okay that you and your children feel overwhelmed. It's normal at this time that it's overwhelming. Talk to people you trust about how you're feeling and let your children talk to you, and explain and listen to them and help them know it's okay to feel overwhelmed, because this is a very unusual time. Try to stay healthy. Try to have healthy meals. I've been really challenged about that and trying to have more fruits for snacks and things like that instead of loads and loads of biscuits and crisps and stuff that I can see makes my children get a lot more hyper and difficult to struggle with their behaviour at home. Healthy food and exercise boosts your immune system, improves your mood and will reduce your anxiety. Create a routine and plan for your day. This will give you a sense of purpose, help you feel more confident. And I've noticed for my children, they actually really like the security of knowing what's happening in their day, like a normal day, if they go to nursery or school, or maybe they come out to a group with us. Reduce your worry and anxiety by not watching too much television and news, and just finding out information about what's happening from reliable websites. There's a lot of stuff going around on WhatsApp, pictures that I've seen that I've not found helpful at all for my mental health. So be very aware of what you're looking at. Share with your children what you think is age appropriate for them to understand what's happening, but not become over anxious. Draw on any skills you've used in the past to help you in tough times, or find new ways to cope. Maybe you find it helpful to write a diary, do mindfulness. There's lots of apps to help you with relaxation. Maybe prayer is part of your life, spending quiet time. And you may remember from MumSpace that we've made gratitude jars. So maybe each day you could write down, what am I grateful for today, even in the middle of the coronavirus, and put that in your jar and keep it. Get as much sunlight and fresh air and look at nature as much as you can. Maybe you could go out for a walk with your children and get some fresh air. Maybe you just need to open the windows and let the light and the fresh air come in. Open your curtains wide a few times a day. Maybe you just need to sit and look out the window at a tree and remember that there's a world out there and a green space outside. Have fun, be creative, find fun ways to relax. Josephine's going to show a video as part of this webpage around doing some exercise that is fun at home. There's loads of stuff on the internet and there's loads of ideas and songs and dances that we've done at MumSpace. Maybe try cooking something new, sharing a recipe with someone, challenging each other to bake something new today. And another thing that you might be able to consider is, how can you help other people at the moment? How can you help people around you? You're a parent and maybe it's not going to be easy, but you could probably pick up the phone and call someone, text someone a positive message, maybe even write a card and post it to somebody. When you help other people, it really helps your sense of happiness. On the website, I have also put, if you really are in crisis and your mental health has become so overwhelming, you're really struggling to cope, there's some numbers that you can call on there. And there's a few websites I've listed as well, which will hopefully be able to help you, particularly around your mental health. And last of all, I just want to say it's tough at the moment, but you are resilient. You have got through this to this day, and you will get through it. And remember, you have a community around you. Remember, you're important, and so are your children. But you are doing it.